Alright, so we have Vagabond versus Sederhana. Vagabond is scripted by Rorik. One of the AI is made for the script-off tournaments that we've had a while back, where the challenge was for a scripter to start from scratch and make an AI in 3 hours, and then you'd see those scripts face off against each other. And Vagabond has had a little bit of development since the script-off tournament, but it still sticks to its primary strategy of going for a fast castle and then dropping a castle and going unique units. So we should, at least if the Vagabond gets a chance to reach that point, should be able to create Hussite wagons. And then Sederhana is a AI created by Kriphook, and I believe mostly designed for the Conquerors version. And what we've seen so far from the tournament, I think it might have played Aztecs pretty much in all the first few rounds. But at least as Aztecs, it would try to kind of boom up and then reach Imperial Age with a fairly passive fast Imperial Age build. And I'm curious to see if that will be what he uses with Vikings as well. The Vikings can do, I guess, a decent job because of their economy, the free wheelbarrow and handcart. You can see here that Sederhana is bringing the cows toward the mill, which is actually the default behavior, rather than always bringing... the default behavior is that the AI will bring any herdables to whichever food drop site is closest to where the herdables are. So if they happen to be closer to the TC, they would be brought into the TC. If they're closer to the mill, then they'd be drawn in toward the mill. And so I think most AI scripters will set a strategic number that always forces them to go to the TC, because that's a lot more efficient. No dropping time like you can see here. And hopping back over to Vagabond, seems like things are going pretty smoothly over here. We've got a lumber camp placed here in the back. And, oh, we got a dancing cow. And there we go, finally found his place. Or her place, you never know. So we got a mill placed by Vagabond. And Sederhana's still gathering food from the mill and place this lumber camp. I was able to do that before starting to place farms. So with this particular matchup, I think that might favor Vagabond's playstyle pretty well, because we probably won't see a big rush attack from Sederhana before Vagabond is able to place the castle down. So we'll see which AI can get to its strongest point the soonest. Got a pretty big area that's empty right here to the left of Vagabond's town. And there's kind of a mirror image over here on the what would be to Sederhana's left, if Sederhana was facing Vagabond. So you might not have to worry about resources too much early on, but Vagabond does have some gold and forage bushes up at the front. It only has, well, it has, okay, these two forests in the back, plus the second gold. I was about to say this has just this one forest in the back that's kind of small, but the second one's pretty nearby. Meanwhile, Sederhana only has this back forest to rely on. Its other three forests are in the front, which can make it vulnerable if Vagabond is playing aggressively and attacking. And I'm trying to see, so I think Vagabond brings in his boar, and so that's good. All of them have been brought in. Not seeing anything being done with these deer. I don't know if Vagabond will push in deer. And Sederhana, because it's scripted for the Conquerors where you couldn't hunt boar, looks like he's leaving his boar alone, which would probably hurt him pretty soon. if not already. You can kind of see a big difference in resources collected. Vagabond's getting ahead. Alright, Sederhana is placed in a mining camp for gold. And Vagabond's got a second lumber camp for wood, which is not in an ideal spot. So that's a little bit unfortunate. I think it's probably trying to build it one tile away from this tree, but that's not the best way to do it. It looks like Vagabond might not have changed the default for SN allow adjacent drop sites. I think the general wisdom is that it's good to set that to 1 so that your lumber camp is directly next to the wood, since trees get chopped down so quickly. I think people are split on whether to use that for forage bushes or gold mines or stone mines. I think in my I usually put a 1 tile gap for mining camps and then adjacent for lumber camps, and actually forget what I set it to for the forage mill. So we got Vagabond reaching feudal age first, and Sederhana will be a little over a minute behind, but also with being 4 villagers ahead. Yeah, not seen any feudal age buildings. Okay, actually we are. That are built further out, like we've seen in previous games. We got the market and the blacksmith place for Vagabond, and Castle Age research has started. And Sederhana reached feudal age. We are seeing a barracks getting placed and a mining camp for stone. I'm not sure if this mining camp for stone needs to be built that early. Probably would have been good to save up for feudal age buildings. And also might want a second lumber camp pretty soon. This is a fairly large walking time. So these AIs are currently some of the lower scoring AIs in this tournament so far. Sederhana is at 4 points, while Vagabond is at 8. The Sederhana is 4 points, came in Arabia, while Vagabond has gotten 4 points each from Arabia and Arena. Though I think a lot of people will assume that Vagabond with the castle drop strategy is probably stronger on Arena than on Arabia. Alright, so we got a second lumber camp from Vagabond, which is nice. Or a third one, actually. And then Sederhana has started researching Castle Age, has gotten an archer range and a blacksmith. And also is long distance hunting the deer. Still on 1 lumber camp. I don't know if it's because of the free wheelbarrow, but Sederhana is ahead on resources collected, as well as villagers. Alright, so Vagabond has gotten resources for a castle, and we'll start building it. I don't think this castle will be disrupted. Still no military from Sederhana, but Sederhana is researching Castle Age and is building a market and a second lumber camp, which would be nice, but what's not nice is that it's pretty much in range, not directly in range of this castle, but any villagers walking around this lumber camp will probably get hit by the castle. Right now, Vagabond only has fletching research. One spot in his research that lumber camp will be under attack, I think. Not seeing any housite wagons yet. Okay, now we are. Vagabond does have a monk, though. And is also building a second TC. But Sederhana is much higher on resources collected. And so Vagabond is going to need to cause some damage with these housite wagons if he's going to be able to keep up with Sederhana. We got a monastery, and soon we'll have a university. And Sederhana almost has enough resources for Imperial Age. So far, these villagers aren't getting attacked yet. I'm curious if Vagabond can see them. Hasn't even seen the lumber camp yet. It's probably seen the villagers occasionally walk on these tiles, but hasn't been close enough for these housite wagons to pay attention. And third TC for Vagabond. That monk's gonna get attacked. And I think that monk's gonna die. Yep, there we go. It's probably going for this relic. And unfortunately, because AIs aren't very smart about where they send their monks to get relics, Sederhana might send several monks to their death. But not anytime soon, because Sederhana isn't training any monks, starting to train some army here. Knights and archers and skirmishers. Might end up being a mixed army, we'll see. But Vagabond is starting to attack and also has a second castle placed. Second monastery for Sederhana. That's a brave scout. And a brave knight. Unfortunately for Sederhana, not a lot of the units that he's training is going to do much damage against these housite wagons. Seven pierce armor. So no ranged units are going to be able to do much against them. And I believe you need redemption to be able to convert these housite wagons. But we do see a villager trying to get converted here. Yep. Alright, so one housite wagon goes down. But there's three more coming. The TC's being the primary defense here, but villagers being garrison side of the TC is going to hurt that economy. And Sederhana doesn't get redemption with Vikings. I'm looking to see, so we got a castle here, which will be nice. Now, if Sederhana is able to make mangonels, that's probably the best response here, besides this castle. Unfortunately, this castle's probably not going to do a whole lot in defense. "16 villagers killed by Vagabond." You're going to see these villager numbers dropping. Alright. Sederhana dropped below 20 pops. I think we'll call the game here. So Vagabond strategy paid off. Wasn't disrupted at all by Sederhana. Sederhana was up in resources collected for a little bit, but eventually Vagabond's 3 TC boom was able to surpass Sederhana. Alright, so now we go on to Arena. And because of Civ picks, we'll need to head back to the Civ picker here in the spreadsheet. So we got Vagabond playing as either Portuguese or Khmer. Alright, we got Portuguese for Vagabond. And for Sederhana, it plays random, but random for the Conquerors. So let's select all of these. Alright, that's all the Conqueror civilizations. And we've got Spanish for Sederhana. Portuguese versus Spanish. Looks like we'll have an Iberian Peninsula internal battle today. Alright, looks like everything's all set. Let's get started. Alright, looks like we've got a chicken arena. So I'm guessing this game will probably play out similarly, with Vagabond being the first to attack. So it's looking at Sederhana's resources. We got gold in the back, which would be good, as well as the main stone. These berries are probably collected before Vagabond might attack, but we'll see what happens. Sederhana's still looking for these, I guess, geese in the front. Looking to see if this scout might find them here soon. Oh, there we go. Just barely got him. And Vagabond, the stone is forward as well as the gold, but everything else besides the hairs is easy to defend. And the scout will find the remaining geese there. Alright, so in terms of economy, I think the Portuguese should get slightly ahead due to their eco bonus, even though it's kind of a short-lived one. The Spanish and Arena kind of rely on the castle drop into conquistadors, which I'm not sure if Sederhana will have a strategy to go for that. They receive extra gold for researching technologies, but I think that's usually not enough to really power an economy. Hey, Bandit. So we're seeing Sederhana once again gathering herdables from near the mill. And nice spot for this lumber camp here. With the tile gap, seems like it'd be a perfect spot, far enough away from the wall. Alright, and Vagabond has the main two gathering buildings. 10 foragers because all of the gates were gathered. Looks like Sederhana is not going to be gathering from the hares anytime soon. And because it's a Conqueror's AI, won't be hunting the elephants. Looks like Vagabond has found Sederhana's walls. And looks like Sederhana still hasn't explored much beyond the starting area. I wonder what Sederhana's home exploration time is set to. Maybe it's set to something pretty high. Yeah, I see that someone mentioned in the chat that Vagabond probably lost a villager to an elephant. Said that I didn't see that, and I don't have the capture age feature where you can rewind. And so that's unfortunate for Vagabond. We'll see if he can recover from that. Yeah, you can tell with the eco death here. But yeah, each AI is kind of peacefully building up, slowly by slowly. Dark Age is not the most interesting age in Arena, but you can kind of tell which AI is starting to get ahead. Vagabond has more resources gathered, probably just due to the boar, pretty similar to last game. One thing I'm pleased with this tournament so far is that every single AI has won at least one game. It can be usually demoralizing if your AI enters a tournament and can't win against a single AI. I think that's one of the reasons why I was going for a Swiss tournament, is that it's pretty likely that you'll face off against an AI with roughly equal skill to yours, which gives you a chance to get some wins, rather than an elimination tournament where the weakest AIs will get eliminated soonest and might not be able to face against an AI of similar skill. I think we've had some tournaments that tried to structure an elimination bracket so that the lower seeded AIs would face off against each other first before facing more difficult AIs. But that also means that it's harder for... there's like more matches that a lower seeded AI has to play in order to make it to the final game. So sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel fair. Okay, so we got Vagabond building those feudal age buildings and should be able to start researching Castle Age here pretty soon. And Sederhana is almost all the way to feudal age. It's got its barracks. And like previous games, I think we'll see it eventually build an archer range and market. Alright, Vagabond's adding the mining camp for stone for its castle. And got an ecotex. Alright, so we got a blacksmith and stone mining camp. So Sederhana has found Vagabond, but we'll see if that is important at all at this point. We'll see if it's going to be similar to last game where Vagabond just has to launch a single attack and that ends the game for Sederhana. What's good for Sederhana is that he has the walls to help defend, so he's got a bit more time to breathe and build up. Sederhana's researching Castle Age. Got the Archer Range and Blacksmith, no market. Alright, the castle for Vagabond has been placed. And if I remember right, Oregon guns don't have a lot of attack versus buildings. But we'll check the attack stats for Oregon guns soon. This mining camp is going to be vulnerable though. So hopefully Sederhana can build a mining camp next to the gold here. Second TC place for Vagabond. He was actually ahead of villagers over Sederhana this game. So I think Sederhana should be able to get some relics this time around, instead of the monks going past one of Vagabond's castles. Alright, so we got an Organ gun. So, no bonus versus walls. And I think each bullet should have 1 damage against the walls. But with those several projectiles, it should knock through the walls relatively quickly. Faster than if you had just like a couple archers attacking it. Either way, we'll see. Sederhana only has 1 archer in defense right now, but is researching Imperial Age. And I think this mining camp will delay Vagabond's attack against the walls here, but it might be able to kill this monk. So they're not seeing this monk yet though. Not inside a line of sight. So that monk should get a safe passage back to the monastery. Got a scout that might be converted here. Yep, there we go. And second monastery. One of the monks was killed. I'm trying to see which relic that monk was going for. I remember seeing a relic that was right around here, but I think Sederhana must have gotten it earlier. So at this point, have all my relics been... Yeah, so all relics have been captured. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. The range units aren't doing a horrible job against the organ guns. Once these organ gun numbers grow, though, just having a couple of range units is not really going to do much. What are these monks doing? Okay, they're just healing up the villagers. But they might see themselves under attack here pretty soon. Alright, we got a castle. This time is in a good spot. It'll eventually be guarding both gate locations. But the siege workshop will probably go down. And also they'll be able to attack these organ guns. Man-at-arms for Vagabond, so we might see some swordsmans being added in here pretty soon. Aha, and Vagabond is now officially inside the walls, but this archer might get converted back. Vagabond might be a little bit lucky. He happened to just move these organ guns out of range of this castle. Or maybe Vagabond actually has some castle avoidance that even checks for foundations. So this gate is getting damaged here. Now in this game, Sederhana could research redemption and start converting these organ guns, but I'm not sure if Sederhana would be coded to do that. Let's see. Vagabond has 11 kills so far. Just lost one organ gun to a castle, and I think the other... Oh, this is Ego KD. So we got 45 kills for Vagabond and 12 for Sederhana. Now, I think if Sederhana were to stop trying to just send their units to try and attack the organ guns, it'd be doing a lot better. But unfortunately, with TSC and the way it works, it's not really easy to do that. And a lot of villagers here are being idle just by garrisoning in the castle. So this might be able to do some damage here. Alright, one organ gun down. Maybe two. Alright, that was still probably a good trade for that knight. This knight is probably not going to do as well just because of the organ guns being massed around here. But they are now wandering inside the range of the castle. So Vagabond is now down to 5 organ guns, plus 2 more on the way, 4 more on the way. And now we have Conquistadors from Sederhana, which I'm not sure if they'll actually be a good choice. Well, maybe they will. So we got the 4 pierce armor. So the Conquistadors' attack would be able to do some damage against the organ guns. What's that monk doing? And the organ guns wander into castle range once again. Sederhana's villagers still sitting around the upper 40s, mid 40s. Enough villagers have been killed off by these organ guns to keep Sederhana's villager training steady. I'm not sure if this villager training from Sederhana has actually been steady or not. We might have some breaks where Sederhana is not training villagers at all. Organ guns might not be able to be converted at this point, but the long swordsman can. A Vagabond on the way to Imperial Age. And the gate is open, and organ guns are able to come in, but they come in right into the castle fire. Conquistador converted. Converted back. So it feels like the trades are a bit more even now, but Vagabond's like 70 villagers ahead over Sederhana. So I feel like just because of the eco difference being so massive, I think we'll eventually see Vagabond overwhelm Sederhana. But we'll need to see the follow through from Vagabond to be able to make it happen. So Vagabond seems to have resources for the elite upgrade, maybe some more techs along the way. Alright, plate mail. A little bit surprised to not see the resources being used for anything else. Okay, siege engineers and arquebuss. With the number of monks that Sederhana is using, I'm surprised it hasn't researched sanctity or any other real monk upgrades. We got a second castle here, which isn't being built right now. Okay, we do have a villager building it. I think this castle will go up. But it seems like the builder keeps on getting garrison in the castle for defense. Alright, trebuchet. That's definitely what Vagabond needs, is some siege to be able to push these castles back. And I'm not sure if Sederhana will have a response to these. And also these villagers are probably going to die pretty soon. It's kind of an unfortunate spot for a lumber camp. Siege workshop down. This castle's about to have health. I think we'll see this castle constructed before this one goes down, but it's going to be close. The Light Cav aren't going to stand a chance against the Tyranid Swordsman. We got a late organ gun coming. I haven't seen a lot of organ guns. Looks like they have 6 pierce armor instead of just the 4 that the Castle Age version has, which I think is perhaps even more important than the attack increase. But +2 attack is also pretty significant. Seems like Vagabond might be allowing his trebuchets to attack units. Just due to how they were attacking right here. But it looks like they're back to attacking buildings now. But not attacking this castle yet. Alright, this castle should go down in a few seconds at this point. Unfortunately, these trebs are not attacking the gates. Yeah, the organ guns are trying to find units to attack rather than attacking this gate. Alright, looks like we might be letting in some organ guns here. Okay, just a couple. Alright, I was mostly waiting for the gates to get knocked down, but Sederhana is at 15 villagers, so that's definitely GG. It was an uncertain game for a little while. Seemed like Sederhana might have been able to hold, but there wasn't that much help because of the economy difference. And then Imperial Age took Vagabond the rest of the way to victory.